This is the segment I've been telling you about all week. This is Bret. Some of you may know him as Coffees for Closers if you read Santa Rosa Press Democrat Inside the 49ers the last 10 years. Bret, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Grant. I've really been looking forward to this.
So here's why you need to know what Bret, here's why you need to listen to this show. In 2016, Bret put himself on the map when everyone was arguing whether Jared Goff or Carson Wentz was the best quarterback in the draft. Early on, I want to say during the season, he said it was Dak Prescott. He was right. Next year, just to outdo himself while everyone was arguing Mitchell Trubisky or Deshaun Watson, he said early on, Patrick Mahomes, you have no idea how many times I told him, dude, you're wrong. It's Mitchell Trubisky. And how he really stuck to it and was right. 17. In 18, he got Allen. Last year, he knew that it was going to be Herbert over Tua. He's got an impeccable track record. So what I want to ask, first off, Bret, how did you identify Dak and Patrick Mahomes so early on?
Really both of them came down to kind of finding these obscure articles that really talked more about the personal background of who they were, as human beings, even before being football players. And one article that I found on Mahomes that really stuck out was it had talked about how his father was a professional baseball player and how he always took Patrick with him everywhere. He was always in the locker room. He went on the road games with him. And so that kind of told me that this was a guy who's going to have zero problem transitioning into an NFL locker room. He's going to walk in there and, like they say, he's going to feel like he's been there before. There's going to be no sense of awe. There's going to be no sense of looking at these stars. There's no starstruck. He's just going to be able to walk in there and basically act like he's been there before. It's when you're really trying to distill down what's going to separate these guys out, you just have to look for these little tiny nuggets, and you just kind of gleam onto those. And you think, when you have two guys that are equal or similar in some ways, that's going to be what's going to separate these guys out. What are they like as people? What kind of experience, what kind of history do they bring to the team? And having that kind of background of being around professional athletes his whole life, I just knew that when this guy walked into the big stage, it wasn't going to feel like a big stage. It wasn't going to be any different than what he's already experienced before. And I just felt that was going to really give him a leg up. And of course, when you looked at him on tape, there was no question about the physical, skills that he had. It was just going to be a matter of, was he going to be able to transition to the NFL? And I felt like, some of the articles I found about him as a person, as his character, told me he was going to have the strength of person, that he was going to be able to handle the person, or challenges he was going to face. And I found something very similar to Dak. There was an article about his family, his upbringing. And this was a guy that, from the very beginning was, a first in, last out kind of a guy. And it was a strength of character kind of, article again. And these were the two things that at those times was kind of setting them apart for me. Their body of work on the field, again, you can look at these guys and they all end up looking the same when you're looking at them on tape. So you have to find something in the background that separates them out. And so for both of those guys, it was really articles about their character, about who they were as human beings, that really kind of set them apart and caught my attention early on. And then when you really looked at them, there was just no question that these guys were special.
So you're looking at the non-coachable traits, the intrinsic traits, and it's not necessarily arm strength or speed for a quarterback. It's these subtle things.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to look at the things that you can't fix. The vision, and that's one of probably the things I'm always looking for most in a quarterback is when he steps out on that field. Does he see his receivers? Does he see the field? You can't teach that. There's just no way to teach that. The pocket awareness is another big one. But arm strength. Yeah, I mean, NFL, support teams, the trainers, they can fix arm strength. They've got ways through the mechanics, through, working out, through becoming stronger physically. We'll get to it. But the guys in this draft, everyone's got adequate enough arm strength. If they needed to just become a little bit stronger, that's not what's going to hold them back. That's not what's going to, pull them back in the draft. But you're right. You've got to look for the intangible, that je ne sais quoi, that special, quality about these guys that you just can't teach. You can't fix. Are they going to be that first in, last out? Are they the ones that are going to be spending the most time in the film room? These are guys that you can impress on rookies that they need this. But if it wasn't already there, if it wasn't in their background to begin with, then it's not going to stick. It's not going to something that's going to really be a meaningful part of their career.
Okay, so that's the background. That's what you need to know about Bret and his method. So let's talk about these. Let's talk about these quarterbacks, starting with Trevor Lawrence. Bret, what do you see from Trevor Lawrence? What do you think of him? What do you think of Trevor?
Trevor Lawrence is a hands down, checks all the boxes kind of guy. I mean, how do you not know that Trevor Lawrence is going to be, a stud right from the gate? When evaluating this year's class, I've largely almost been looking past him just because what's to debate with this guy?
No.
I mean, he's got the arm strength, he's got the vision, he's got the mobility, he's got the character. He handles adversity. He takes the blitzes, and he's still able to find his guys. He plays well in the big game. He's one of the top prospects that we've seen since Andrew Luck, Patrick Mahomes. He's not quite in that same special category as Patrick Mahomes. There was just something. He's kind of had that Bret Favre where he could just go out there and you put him in any situation, and Mahomes is going to find a way of getting the ball to someone. I haven't quite seen that with Trevor Lawrence, but he checks every other box. I mean, you just look at this guy and he just screams NFL, Pro Bowl, starting quarterback.
So if
but no, go ahead.
So I'm saying if you were Trent Baalke making the pick for Jacksonville, you would take Trevor Lawrence. I mean, yeah, you would take Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's the guy. He's the safest of my top guys. Kyle Trask is kind of my preferred guy, but truly, as a general manager, you have to take Trevor Lawrence first. You just have to.